What up, my fellow Survivor lovers? Welcome to Survivor Historian, part of the Challenge Historian podcast feed. I am your host and born-again Survivor superfan, Jacob Hollaball, and with me, as he is every week, is our resident Survivor historian himself, Tony Lance. Tony, how we doing?
Not too bad at all. I got a day without the kids. They're at the grandparents, so we cleaned all day, and I actually ended up watching this episode 3 times. Because we watched it on Wednesday, and then on Thursday we watched it with the people that we normally watch it with on Wednesday, because one of them was working. And then I forgot to take notes that time, and Sarah looked at me when we were done. She's like, "You have to watch this again, don't you?" It's like, crap. So I watched all but 10 minutes of it last night, and I just could not stay awake. So I watched the last 10 minutes like first thing this morning when I woke up.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah. And you haven't been to Applebee's yet after watching 3 hours of Applebee's commercials? Have you made a stop?
I've considered buying a plane ticket because I don't think we have any Applebee's near us.
I should have asked that first. Yeah, any Applebee's anywhere?
I don't think
Canada,
so. Like we have places like Montana's and like Moxie's and Boston Pizza and stuff like that are all those sorts of chains. But I don't know that we specifically have an Applebee's, and somebody can tell me otherwise. But I know that we don't in like Halifax, Bridgewater, that area of Nova Scotia.
Well, I considered it, but I did not go.
I saw some online. Some people, some of the fan groups, there were some posts of that burger.
I am still waiting I thought they would have already been on it in advance, but if Applebee's does not do a commercial with Liz, who, reminder, is a marketing expert of some form or fashion, whether this whole billionaire Liz thing is getting a little ridiculous. I don't think that I just really think they would have made her say if she was a billionaire, guys. I think 50% of the people saying that online know that it's like funny and fun, but I do think there's like a portion that are like, wait, she's a billionaire? And we're like, no, she's very successfter, but no. Anyways, we're going to be talking about Liz a lot because we are here of course, talk about episode number, whichever episode number was. It was 10, right?
10?
Episode 10,
yeah,
the
episode
Applebee's
10.
Episode. I don't know what the episode was named because it just is the Applebee's episode and the Liz episode. And we're going to talk all about those two things and more. Before we dive in, any programming updates, challenge fandom-wise, other than just continued All-Stars coverage?
Yeah, continue All-Stars covers. We did the recap on Friday. It was nice to get back to it because I wasn't there last week. So yeah, we had a really good time. I don't know how the edit turned out. I felt bad for Karina because we were goofing around a lot just because we were all back in the same, I guess, virtual space.
Yeah. Well, you gotta think about as my own editor, you gotta think about the editors there. And I actually often do when every time I see your podcast pop up in my feed, I legitimately immediately just think, good job, Karina. Like, it's just, there's a lot of people on that poster. There's 6 of them there this week, 5 this week, whatever. Good job, Karina. Well done by you. So yeah, same here on Challenge Historian. Just got the episode recaps coming every Wednesday. And then we got 3 more weeks left of Survivor after this episode that you're about to hopefully continue listening to and haven't turned off already. So without further ado, let's dive in. Episode 10, season 46. Here we go. It is now night 17, if I have my notes correctly. They're coming back from Tribal into day 18 on the beach. So we'll go through the very quick opening section because we do get a reward and immunity challenge this episode, which very much enjoy. So the sections are a little quicker. The main thing that comes of the opening beach segment, though, besides Liz is upset, but we're going to talk about Liz a lot, so we can, if there's anything to bring up, we can bring that portion up later. What the heck, you hoe bags hit early in the episode.
It did, like immediately.
Trailer. Yeah, I was like, whoa, okay, no wonder you put it in the trailer because it's like 3 seconds into the episode. But the big thing is Maria is the only person to go talk to Q for the second time now. Q goes out to his boat just to lay on his boat because I guess that's just his boat now, and none of them use it. None of them fish, I guess.
It's so weird. I need somebody to ask if they just were unsuccessful fishing, because I know that we had the aerial shot of Hunter, and I know that Tevin and Hunter were going like crabbing for Liz so that Liz had food, but I don't actually know I have not. We've not seen any fishing other than that one aerial shot. Like, did they lose the sling? Did they just not have luck? It's so weird.
It they're clearly unsuccessful or not using it because yes, we would get some reference to it if they did otherwise. But it doesn't. Maybe they're just not allowed because it's Q's boat. It's his boat. He lays on it, and when he lays on his boat, Maria is the one that comes to talk to him for the second time. It's second episode in a row. We see she's the only one that goes down there, kind of consoles him, and basically gets a grasp on, hey, are you gonna play the game or not still? Because if you are, I hopefully will be the only one that asks you if you want to do something or work with me. And she sees him as the vote that he still is. He is still in the game on the beach. So he will be placing votes. And she sees this, and then the next morning, after kind of finding out, yes, Q's in the game and he's willing to vote with me, and I don't know, I'm the only one that talked to him, so I don't think that anyone else is pitching him on stuff. She pitches Charlie and Kenzie, who had been the trio that Kenzie went to previously. On last episode, we saw Kenzie felt, Charlie and Maria were the two to approach about the Tiff blindside. They call it off. They get Hunter. Now here, Maria pitches Charlie and Kenzie on, hey, what are we thinking? Do we still want to go through with that? And I want to know what you think about this strategically, again, of the whole, doing this before the challenge. I know it was the previous plan that then was shelved. But the first part, I guess, what do you think of that, of Maria, just this always on game, this constant game that there is now a part of the new era world?
So one of the things that Jeff did say on Fire is, the game never stops. So even when they're at the sanctuary, because we don't always see a lot of the nighttime stuff, he said that everybody is still talking game. It's just a lot of the times that, well, D actually mentioned they give them their mattresses and everything for sleeping, and a lot of the time, because it's comfort versus what they're used to, they just pass out. So there's not a lot to show. But I think it totally makes sense. We had a couple of episodes ago where they said, there's no point in talking about this until we see who wins immunity and who's left. But in reality, when we're this close, it makes sense to just kind of reaffirm, if she doesn't win, are we doing this? Because then it's less of a scramble. But as a side note, everybody, when Maria went down there, everybody was just oh, Maria's just going down to comfort Q or whatever, and didn't really think anything of it. And I don't know if they're not thinking of it, but if they're not, then it's a massive oversight that they're just letting Maria have these one-on-ones with Q and not realizing that it's part of her game. She's made, and to use it as a mom role is to do a disservice to what she's doing, but to have that check-in and to be that person that just checks in with everybody to make sure that they're okay, that's a huge social game. That's a huge element of a social game, and everybody just seems to think, oh, that's just Maria being Maria. And the fact that she can do that is ridiculous to me, that nobody has seemed to clock that.
I think she has an invisibility cloak or something, because I referenced last week, I was like, does no one ever notice Charlie and Maria constantly walking by themselves in between conversations every time? No one seems to know that. I did have in my notes here, everyone sees and watches Maria go talk to Q for the second time. And I'm just and they're not, no, I think it'll come up next episode. I think finally someone will be Maria's kind of doing everything, but that's, obviously because by
and we
the
got
end of the
that
episode,
moment. We got that moment with her and Charlie where they just said hey, just want to talk to you right quick. And they went and they had that conversation at the shelter, but it was really condensed. And it was really here's the Cole's notes of what happened while you were gone. Here's the Cole's notes of what happened while we were away. And then they're back together.
They're being quick and smart about it, but they still are checking in a couple times a day. Yeah. You'd think at some point it would be picked up on. The other thing that comes of this, though, is Kenzie via confessional confirms what we've all kind of seen as fans from the outside, as throughout the new era, there seems to be this ever-growing list of things you're supposed to check to make a true good resume. And we'll preface this with the, again, reminder of this cast did not get to watch. They filmed back-to-back with 45, so they are not aware that Dee took her kind of boyfriend number one to the final three and wiped the floor with them in a tribal final tribal council. Julie. Yeah, and was down to the four of them were kind of almost down to be the Final Four. So they don't have that knowledge that there was a now new shining example of doing the opposite. But Kenzie says taking out your number one is a required part of your Survivor resume. She says the word required.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whoa, gee, that's where the cast members have gotten to, that they believe that, like, you literally, the only way to win this game, you have to vote out. You have to create a number one that everyone knows is your number one, and then you have to vote them out.
Yeah.
I'm appalled. I think this is ridiculous, and I hate that I don't think Kenzie's alone in feeling this way.
And I don't think so either. I think that it stems a little bit from Ricard and Shan, but mostly from Cody and Jesse. But the thing to remember is, like, Jesse didn't win. Jesse went home in fire making, which, I mean, still sucks, still hurts, because I love Jesse. But that's what happened. So I still think that you can get to the end with your alliance. The big thing that people are seeming to miss is a lot of the duos are playing, like, the same game together. So that when they get to a certain point, they realize we have the exact same story. We can't sit together. Whereas other people have found ways in, like, the old school games, have found ways to differentiate themselves from the people that they're sitting next to in an alliance and still get there.
Mm-hmm. And that's, to some degree, kind of what D did last season. Yep. Again, they don't have that info to go on, but of, like,
totally.
Yeah, in the late game, instead of just getting them out, I didn't clue them in on one thing so that there could be one of the bigger moves later in the game is something I can say, we did do everything the same until this point, and they weren't a part of that, and I was, and so, boom, I got the little leg up. So, not loving that, but I am loving everything that then happens the rest of day 18, which is that they go to a challenge, and it is a reward challenge, and I feel like, has there only been like one or two reward challenges all
shown
here?
At least?
Yeah,
because I guess sometimes it's for editing purposes. Sometimes it doesn't really impact the flow of the game all that much. But a lot of the times when we're seeing, like, the episodes air and then the castaways talking about it on social media or anything like that, they'll mention that, like, there was an immunity challenge, but whatever. It either didn't matter or was just a blip on the radar.
Yeah. Well,
I think they did it on Winners at War at one point. There was a reward that just wasn't shown. And it was just because, like, there was enough other stuff going on game related.
Yeah. Well, this one had to be shown in all of its glory because there was a lot that happened.
Yeah.
We'll speed through the fact that, it opens with the full-blown Applebee's advertisement that they thought was what they were paying for without realizing they were paying for the next 40 minutes of content in reality. And so we get the full rundown. We see all the stuff. Liz is just salivating, doesn't do it justice for just the noises and facial expressions she is making. And we get the backstory, of course, that would come to be very prevalent on her and her daughter in Survivor sleepovers on Wednesdays and going to Applebee's and the whole thing. And they play the game, and the game is a classic game that we most recently saw Gabler winning, and they do get the Gabler reference and kind of jokes about him, shouting out 38 million people while winning the game. And Alaska. Yeah, and Charlie shows his knowledge to how much he's paying attention by, like, being the one that knew that, not Jeff.
But nobody else, Charlie and Maria are the two that are doing so much but aren't getting clocked at all.
Yeah, and most of it's open. Like, that's an open thing of, like, oh, you clearly just made an inside joke that I don't get because you watch this and pay attention way more than I do. And I thought, I watched that season or whatever. But it's the grip strength challenge, essentially. Hold the bucket with 25% of your starting body weight up in the air using, holding the two hands on the little dial thing, and can do anything you want other than drop it. And it comes down to, that's the one later in the episode.
This is the immunity challenge.
Yeah. Back up, Jacob. Okay, here we go. This is the one Q wins because it was made for Q. Basically a little obstacle course, and then throw the ball on the thing at the very tall, like 10 feet tall peg at the end. Q ends up barely winning, but he,
Yeah.
gets to the throwing portion much quicker than everyone else. This is one of the few challenges where I'm like, Q is by far the most athletic person there if it's just like running, jumping stuff,
Yeah.
but there's just not very much running, jumping stuff, especially in the post-merge part of Survivor. So the
No.
one time Q gets to do all the things he is good at here, and he does capitalize, although a few other people have near misses. But he gets the win.
Including Liz.
And yeah, including Liz, which it's great setup because I had him. They've been doing a lot with the slow mo and kind of the really
and
building
the
up the winning.
cues.
The winning moment, the winning shot in a lot of these, and they did it for Liz's one shot that she got to take. And so in the moment, that was when I knew something was maybe going to happen because I was like, they did the Liz wins. Oh my god. And when she didn't win, I was like, wait a minute, they did all that build up with Liz before the challenge started, and then they gave her this big moment on the miss. What the hell is about to happen? And what the hell happens is that Q wins the reward, so he gets the Applebee's, and as expected, he gets to invite some people to come with him. His first choice is Tiff, who he says, was the one he wrongly targeted and feels the worst about and wants to repair. And she says, fine, I'll eat Applebee's. And then his second pick is then Maria, because Maria has been the one who's checked in on him and everything. And, so far, okay, fine. But throughout this process, they flash to Liz with each pick, and she is getting distraught.
Yep.
And then Jeff stops Q and makes sure to reconfirm how much Liz wants to go on this. Liz interrupts herself and says, I am going to start begging. I don't care. Yep. She begs. She pleads. And then Q, the master television villain that he is, gives like a 40-second recap of all the reasons why Liz is the obvious pick and the only pick possible, and then says, but I'm going to take Kenzie because I want the Vanu people to like get along again. And then chaos ensues, and then Liz lets him know what she's feeling.
I would like to know where that part happened, because what was not shown and what Tiff brought up, spoiler alert, in her exit interviews, was that both Maria and Kenzie tried to give their spot to Liz, and Q said no. And Q said, I picked the people who I picked. These are the people that I want to go on this reward with. I do not want to take Liz. And Q confirmed that on social media as well. And like, here's the thing. For this whole situation, like, for Liz, I would say that this Applebee's reward, more than anything, would be akin to what the family episode is now. Because now they go to the sanctuary and they show videos rather than having the family members come out. So that would almost be a more tangible experience for her from like a family perspective than the actual family component that they have now. So I think that like that was a lot of it. But then also, as much as it's not like, Liz acted exactly how she should have acted based on her emotions in that moment. Q had no responsibility to take her on this advantage, this reward. She did vote for him the night before. So, like, in the grand scheme of things, there's nothing to say that it's Q's responsibility. The secret scene this week was apparently that when they read Tree Mail and they kind of realized what it was, that pretty much everyone said that they would take Liz if they won, and that Liz would be going, except for Q. Q never like specifically said one way or the other. So all of this leads up, probably all of those components, like, I don't know what Liz is going through, but I would assume all of those components played a very big part in what we ultimately saw. However, I guess my counter for it, and I understand she has allergies. She went out there knowing that she has allergies, and there's a lot of things that she can't eat. But in previous Survivor, they got rice. Like, that was a thing that they gave them to survive on. Whether it was a lot or whether it was a little and they had to portion it. And then now they don't get rice. They can find coconut, fruit, whatever, which are all things that she can't eat. So if the things that are on the island are specific as these are the things you can survive on, and they're not, she can't eat them, then I almost feel like it would be on production to have some sort of caloric equivalent. And I don't mean like you have to give Liz food because everybody else has food. But if there was something else that she could eat that was roughly the same advantage as eating coconut would be.
Can she eat fish?
I think she can.
I think so. Because
So
the one meat, she said chicken is the one meat she like
Yeah.
doesn't do well with or can't eat. But so I think, I don't know. I have been pondering that same question
Yeah.
of like, should production have to do anything about this, or is it like, hey, like you're coming on the show and this is, you know, what it is,
Yeah.
in the same way as, you know, I don't know. It's always weird to compare different things, but like, I don't know. We had Noelle a couple seasons ago. Like we've had multiple amputees on Survivor before that are like, obviously things are a little different for me out here. And I also probably have some like cleanliness things that are much different for me in this situation, whatever. So people have had different circumstances on the island before, but it is the game that they try to make the like game of it as fair and equal as possible. So it is a weird situation of like, should this matter, or is it like, well, you should have pushed your group to get like, because this is the first group that's turned down all the rice negotiations until later in the episode when Liz gets her rice. You to the question you kind of posed at the start of that, her yelling at Q, which is just fantastic in the build up to it, how she turns around and Jeff politely asks like, you can, or you absolutely do not have to say anything right now if you would like, which is also a signal of like, and obviously if you don't, we're like, we won't even show me asking you this or whatever. But then her like the turnaround into the scream, it's unbelievable. It's so good. But I'm positive. I'm not positive. They didn't say this, but I would assume that that happens and then the offers to switch places occur in Q saying no, because when Tiff said that in her interview, she said like the other two, you know, like it was awkward and the other two kind of just started feeling like awkward and weird about it. And I would assume that's, I know they had you know, laid out in the secret scene. They all went into this like, if you don't pick Liz, this is going to be awkward. But I think the blow up then causes the situation where Kenzie and Maria are like, I feel like I'm getting a little bit of the shrapnel of this because I'm the one standing in the place. And so while it's completely unfair to me that I'm feeling that way, I'll maybe volunteer. And I love that, as you pointed out, I'll actually give a little clap for social media this week. I think everyone actually reacted appropriately to like all of the facets of this. This is super entertaining, totally deserved from Liz. Q doesn't know her anything, and so he's not. I mean, he's being an asshole. Like I would have picked her, and there's nothing that would benefit. He's out of the game as far as chances of winning. So, you know, just pick her, dude. But he doesn't know her anything, and I think it's absolutely great. And it's and I thought social media did a proper job of being like, hey man, she made her choices. He made his. This was all great television. I'm glad we got to see it. Sucks for her, but like I'm not being too
I have a
crazy
thumbs up apparently
about this.
I will say that for the most part, yes, social media has sort of like understood the process. However, I've been seeing a lot of people just saying that Liz was whining because she didn't get her way. And I'm like, she's not eaten for a large period of time. And there's a lot of factors.
Because there was a, you know, obviously this moment goes pretty viral. And so there's a lot of non-Survivor watchers just seeing, wait, some lady freaked out over Applebee's and like seeing just like the 3-second clip of her like yelling or whatever. And are like, well, this is hilarious. And like anyone that watched the episode knew the context was like, this is hilarious and fun, but it's also completely deserved and fantastic. And Liz is the best. But it made a couple Survivor fans, shout out to, I always love Alan Aguirre's challenge coverage, but he was one of the ones that was like, wait a minute, a lady freaked out over Applebee's on Survivor, I'm gonna have to watch. And then he went and watched the whole season of Survivor, maybe just this episode, I don't know. He was like, I have to go get caught up on Survivor. And then like the next day he was like, I got caught up and that was so worth it, and Liz's freak out was amazing. And I was like, yes, it was, because this season is turning into the best of the new era for sure.
Yeah.
Like these last 3 episodes have now been so unbelievably entertaining, and next week's looks to somehow also have something shocking and hopefully not related to an injury happen, but maybe related to an injury. I don't know. They show Venus maybe laying in blood on the beach at one point. I'm like, that's not real, but whatever. We'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. So yeah, Liz doesn't get to go. The other 4 do, and so they go to the sanctuary and they get to have their wonderful that was the other thing I was gonna say to you real quick, the family thing. What do you think Liz would have A, quit, B, punched Q, C, punched Q then quit, or D, something else, if they came back to the beach and were like, we got letters from home while we were there? And Liz would have been, and like there would have been Liz would have had a letter from her daughter while having the Applebee's.
I would say that Liz would pick up Q's boat and hit him with it.
She would knock him out and then bury him under his boat, like bury him alive in his boat. Yeah.
And then just continue on.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen. I hadn't even considered the fact that we're late enough in the game that letters could have been involved in this.
I was so worried when they were at the sanctuary, just as like the way that it was kind of still going on. When they came out and they were like, and here's a burger on the house, I was like, uh-oh. Is there like is the letter is it under the burger? Like the other dude, I don't know if it's just me, but like, was that not an obscene amount of food for like a normal person at a restaurant, let alone people who haven't eaten in a long period of time and their stomachs would have shrank?
Yeah, it is, but it's because Applebee's paid to display their entire menu. It's the same reason Jeff had to literally name multiple appetizers, shareables, entrees, desserts beforehand, and like this was the literal deal they signed of like, if we're gonna do this, we need the full menu read and shown multiple times over and everything else. So
it was a full appetizer platter. It was a full appetizer platter each, and then it was an entree each.
Yeah, there's a reason why Kenzie couldn't eat the burger and Tiff couldn't eat the burger or whatever, and none of them could because they had already eaten 3 meals worth beforehand, and that's on the stomachs that they're on and everything. And so at the sanctuary, they do attempt to eat as much as they can, and then Q eventually like lets the other 3 chill on their own, which is an interesting strategy too. But I think he reads the room and is like, yeah, no one really cares that I brought them or is that interested. And Maria, Tiff, and Kenzie talk, and it's Tiff and Kenzie, being like, we're screw Q. Like, this is cool. Yeah. Thanks for the food. But like, you're going to be out of here. Maria keeps quiet during it, knowing I have different ideas. Do you feel like, I felt like Kenzie and Tiff dropped the ball during this? Not that like their only intention was, I just can't wait to get Q out of here finally. Right. But that like Maria is right there, and like, yeah, it's great if your idea is like just get Q out of here, but you can't not try to kind of like if you and your pseudo number 1 are sitting there and there's a third person and it's just the 3 of you and there's 7 people left in the game, 8 people left in the game, you gotta, maybe there was more and we didn't see it, you gotta try a little harder to like rope Maria in and just talk like, we're getting Q out, but then like, well, what do we do after Q? Whatever. I felt like they dropped the ball a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
They almost Carolyned her from the last time that she went to the sanctuary.
Yeah. Just like left her out of when it's like the most powerful person here is the one of the 3 of you that you're leaving out of this conversation. And
now I do feel like we must have like missed something, or it was a matter of like Kenzie's already talked to her a bunch too, right? So it could be a matter of Kenzie's talked to her more than her and Tiff have talked to her together. So Kenzie might not want to blow up her spot that she does have a working relationship with Maria. So that's kind of the only thing that I can really figure. Or they just said, are you cool with Q? And she said yes. And then that was the end of it. So they didn't show it.
Yeah. Well, there isn't much really that goes down at the sanctuary, and there isn't a lot that goes down on the beach either, other than Liz does, lets out some more emotions to the effect of, I did find the one moment funny where I think it was after everyone was back. Maybe it was before, but the one moment where Liz is just like in the water by herself and she just lets out another scream and it
Yeah.
goes back to everyone at the beach and like, oh, that's just Liz groaning. And like, no
Yeah.
one, it's, no one's gonna, it's not that anyone needs to go say anything to her, but she's clearly been doing enough of this or they've witnessed enough that it's just like, she's still going through it. Just,
Yeah.
it'll dissipate at some point. She
I-
does sort of apologize to Q.
She does.
It's an icy response to the half-hearted apology, but deservedly half-hearted. So it's kind of a nothing burger to me on both sides, but it is interesting that she's, it is smart of her to at least, I think, he doesn't deserve to apologize, but given the game of it all, at least be like, hey, we don't have to worry about that anymore. We can move on until Tiff starts talking about that goddamn burger and how you guys didn't eat it, and then I'm gonna get really freaking pissed again. But
man, like I agree with Read the Room on that. As soon as she said it, I looked at Sarah and Sarah looked at me and I was like, they are not gonna tell Liz that on top of everything else, none of them ate that burger.
Yeah,
but they did.
Make an agreement as you walk back to the beach. Hey guys, let's not mention the burger. Also, I mean, I know one of them. I think I had who was the one asking all the questions?
Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie. Which might be gameplay on his part of like, let's
Yeah, he said I don't want to know everything.
Yeah, he's smart enough to know, but like Liz is sitting in the middle of the group when Charlie's like, I don't need to know everything, but like, can you tell us something about the food? And it's like, now that I'm thinking about it, I think he kind of knew what he was doing of like, let's keep emotions high between these people on the beach.
Liz mocking Tiff in one of her confessionals was also top notch.
Yeah. I mean, the confessionals in this cast is really great in the confessional booth. But
when they went back to camp and Liz was like, so that was the thing. And Venus just said, everybody's wanted to do that to Q. And just kind of like validated the fact that on any given day, anyone would have wanted to yell at Q the way that Liz yelled at Q.
Yeah, they're all desperate for a non-game reason to add to it, and we're all clearly jealous that Liz kind of had the extra like non-game added onto the game to be like, yeah, this isn't going to hurt you in the game by doing this, because it's about much more than that, and we all are on the same page. And we know they're on the same page because we then go to the immunity challenge, the challenge I described earlier, but it actually takes place at this point of the episode. And that is the classic hold 25% of your weight up in the forearm challenge. And Q does not win.
Nope.
They have the rice negotiation.
Yes.
And no one is down this time, which again,
Kenzie does step forward, but then like steps back.
Yeah, and I'm less surprised this time. I'm only still this surprised just because of how the last one went, but it does go to what we referenced earlier. And Jeff then brings out the individual portions and says anyone that sits out gets one. And they basically collectively, no one says, Liz, you're safe, it's fine. But they kind of all collectively are like, Liz, take it. It
doesn't impact her position in the game.
Yeah, like, don't be scared about this. It's not nothing's gonna happen. And I don't know, maybe it's worse if someone says that out loud. It seems sketchy.
It happened to Kane.
Like, Liz, it's fine. Yeah.
Kane, because Kane went home after he was told specifically that anybody who got the rice would not be voted out.
Yeah, but that was in like a tense situation where you're basically asking for someone to lie to you versus this, where again, I think just the general mood was so obviously like, it would be best for everyone if you got to eat some rice, Liz, and no one's going to hold it against you in any single possible way.
They did talk about it on Fire as well, because that was, of course, like the big question that everybody had who had seen the Applebee's scenario previously was this manufactured specifically so that even if they said no to the negotiation, would Liz still get rice? And Jeff had actually said that when they first made the rice negotiation a thing in 41, that they also had it kind of in their back pocket 3 jars of individually portioned rice. So if they didn't get the number of people that they wanted, then they would say, well, if 3 of you want to step out, then you can each get your own rice that you would have. It's yours rather than collective rice. Now, the only thing the only thing that I may question is like I don't doubt that it was a thing for 41 and then they've never had to use it and now they had to use it. But my thing is he didn't change the negotiation. Like it wasn't reformatted for the number of people that are left in the game based on when they did it initially. So effectively the price of rice went up when they already didn't want it the first time. So there was no way that they were going to get half of those people to step forward because everybody's
they're
trying.
a little more desperate now.
But everyone's trying to make sure, especially right then, that Q doesn't win. So like everybody is trying to make sure that they outlast Q. So I couldn't see 2 people giving up their vote when there's only, I think, 8 people left, or 4 people stepping out to get rice. 4 people.
I thought that and again, I mean, I felt really strongly last time and maybe a touch less this time, but I felt like because they're all able, they could have openly had hey, we all want to get Q out, right?
Yeah.
Like, they could have that discussion right there and it would be fine.
Yeah.
And I think they could have easily, like, and Liz could have even been the one that been like, look, Venus, Kenzie, and Ben, we're sitting out. Like, step up, and our best options to beat Q are Tiff, Maria, and Charlie. So like, you 3 sit out with me. One of those 3 will beat Q, and we're gonna get this rice. Like, come on. And it would have, and she could have been like, and then everyone will be locked into voting Q out. Like, there won't, there won't be room for shenanigans. So like, go for it. I don't know. That would be really.
I would have liked to have seen that.
But I don't know. It's just now we have enough evidence that I'm just like, Tiff, Maria, and Charlie are the 3 best competitors there for a majority of these games, and they were the ones I thought had the best chance of winning this game along with Q, and so I thought there was an easy divide.
I forget what Kenzie won. Like I forget what immunity challenge she won.
Did she win the standing in the water one?
Yes,
because there's 2 winners.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yeah, she did because she won it.
She was one of the 2 winners for that one.
Tiff fell off, and then she went like a millisecond later.
Yeah.
So balance, not grip strength.
Yeah. Although I was holding out hope for your guy Ben because I was just like, I haven't learned yet which instruments he plays, but
guitar.
Okay, yeah. So I was like, if he plays guitar, like,
yeah,
guitar is usually pretty damn strong hands and forearms there. So I thought maybe a shot, but it turns out it's just Charlie and Tiff down at the end. And
again?
in the
Charlie second place,
second time in a row too that Charlie is in a one-on-one matchup and he stares down his opponent. This time, unlike last time where Hunter was looking all wobbly and shaky the whole time and Charlie was all cool, calm, and sadistic, this time Tiffany played the role of as cool and calm as you could ever be, the wink, the everything, and then a literal and I'm out. That was a complete facade. She drops. Charlie, who is looking more wobbly, wins, and then lets us know he's been training his forearms for upwards of 2 years, which is brilliant and is way more fun than 3D printing puzzles in my mind. And I'm way more accepting of this. Of like, yeah, you're smart. You should train physically for these, but do it very specifically for the stuff that matters the most. Not, again, Q is an incredible athlete, and most of it doesn't matter.
That's the thing, right? Like, Jonathan Young was amazing in the physical challenges.
So in the team portion, where it's like, we're in the water a lot, and you can swim like at an unbelievable level, and we have to move a bunch of heavy stuff, and you do it by yourself, whereas the other team, all 5 people do it. Great. But then it got to the individual part, and it was like a couple of these, you have other parts of athletic, but you win half of them. And Lindsay, the person who's half your size, wins half of them or whatever.
Exactly.
Her name was Lindsay, right?
Yep, Lindsay Dolash. Yeah. Why do I know that? I don't know why I know her last name, but
yeah. But Charlie is now. It's not just that he's won. We could discuss this here because it probably won't come up again later. Yeah. But him and Maria it will come up later when we do the power rankings, but like are just dominating this game now. But Maria at the end of the episode has the big move under her belt and maybe has a little more to do with their strategic positioning so far, even up to before this move. But Charlie now, and he's clearly smart enough to be able to articulate this, I would assume, of being like, hey, this will be the second straight episode. I beat the guy we wanted to get out. That was the threat. Like, we all collectively said this person's a threat, and if they don't win, we get them out. And I'm the one that beat them so that we could then do the thing. So, like, that's cool. Someone else might be able to claim I got Hunter out. Maria at the end of this episode can claim I got Tiff out. He can be the one that's still like, I beat these people for you so that we could all vote them out when we needed we needed someone to beat them. And I'm the only one that has been beating them so far. It's only his second win or his third?
It's his second win, but it's the third time that he's come in second, like that he's been down to the final two.
Yeah.
Because the first time Hunter beat him.
Yeah.
And then he beat Hunter and he beat Tiff.
Yeah. So props to Charlie, who's just an amazing cast member and should be on every reality show for the next couple of years. He's so good at this.
He is so amazing. Like, when I first saw him in the very beginning, I liked him because he was charming. Like, he was very charismatic. And then as the show went on, him and Ben were like my guys. I liked everybody on Sega pretty much, like, right from the jump. But as it went on, they started to really stand out for me. And Charlie's such a great and dynamic player, and so is Ben. Like, they play the game so differently. But I would love to see people like them, like those, not even an archetype, because they're sort of anomalies in that sense. But I would love to see them do more. Here you go. Charlie and Ben for Amazing Race. I would watch the hell out of that.
Yeah. I just think Charlie's really smart about, he's just really good at TV. I think
he's meticulous.
He's the one out there both playing the game incredibly well, but is also like, seems like a 5-season veteran that has already ingrained the, like, oh, we're making a TV show and, like, you act a little different because you kind of have that knowledge. Like, he seems to
spikes
have
the camera
that knowledge in beforehand. Yeah. They go back to the beach and it is all, let's get Q out, kumbaya, except for Maria, who is still interested in, hey, it's the same scenario as the last 2 weeks here. Like, we don't have to do the easy thing. And she goes to Kenzie first to kind of continue the conversation from the start of the episode and from last episode. And Kenzie says no. Kenzie's like, I'm not doing the Tiff vote. I don't, not right now, at least. I think we actually should just get Q out, and thinks that's the end of it. And in Maria's mind, that is not the end of it. And she just, it is the best move of the season by the end of the episode, but it's also just like the most masterful of how she goes about doing it. She brings in, Charlie is still obviously on board and with her, and Q is willing and absolutely, on board and with her. And then they get Ben, right? Ben is the fourth.
Ben seems to be like, Ben is almost like the Sega special agent, where he's close with the Yanu girls, but then he's still in tight with Maria and Charlie. And I thought that had dissipated. I thought that with that one secret scene where Maria kind of like went at him fairly aggressively, I thought that had sort of splintered that, because you see him hanging out with Kenzie and Tiff a lot more. But I really do think that it is like they are still a trio, just obviously like Ben would be the third member of that trio.
Yeah, I think the way he's aiding them is he is clearly upset and annoyed with Q as anyone, even though he hasn't had the direct, like, Q's moves haven't directly impacted him the way
he's just
they
vocal about
have. He's just the one that's like, this guy sucks, like, over on the side. And I think that's helped keep, especially in this scenario, helps keep, like, the idea that, well, there is the 3 Sega people would vote together, so, like, that still is out there. And so they have 4, but there's 8 of them there. They need a 5th. And they have a conversation and have to decide, do we go to Liz, who obviously hates Q right now? Do we go to Venus, who would probably do it, but would she keep her mouth shut about it? Would she try to find a way to make more credit? Do we trust her? Do we want to work with her? Or do we go back to Kenzie and say, we know you kind of said no, but this was your idea to start with, and there's 4 of us sitting here ready to do it. We need your vote. And they pick Liz. Do you think
Yes.
I was surprised that they picked Liz. This obviously works out and makes for just the best version of this that could possibly be, is Liz being the final vote. But I'm pretty surprised that they didn't go back to Kenzie. I think if I'm in that scenario, and was why I'm not as good as what Maria is proving to be at the show, I think I would have went back to Kenzie. Probably. I would have just thought there's no way we're getting Liz to do this right now.
So I think that they know that Liz is a savvy enough person outside of the game that to know that this is her best way forward. Because we all know that we can get rid of Q at any point. He's really not shown himself to be that adept at immunity challenges, and he'll probably go on a run now because I said that. But he's not somebody who's going to win. He's somebody that they have the opportunity to take out several different times whenever they feel like it. With Kenzie, one of the things that she said, and I absolutely understand why she stepped back from that plan, is because Tiff only has 2 more instances that she can use her immunity idol. This tribal and next tribal. She wanted to save it for next tribal, but she has it to burn. So if she felt that she needed it to use it, or if she just wanted to burn it, like she said last week, all she has to do is play it. And Kenzie said if everybody goes for Tiff, she plays the idol and comes back to camp, then that's bad for everyone's game. Because Tiff is arguably the type of person who could like win her way to the end. And would that would give her even more of a resume to be able to do that. And I agree with Charlie, where like Venus will cause random chaos. Venus is the one who would be more likely to go to Tiff and say, hey, they're gunning for you tonight. Use your idol. We'll take out Maria. Like, I can absolutely see that chain of events happening because that's the type of player that Venus is. When she gets a plan, she has to change it so that it's her plan instead of just the plan that everybody else is doing. So, like, I do agree that Liz is the right one. Plus, Liz and Q working together is the least likely scenario on that beach right now. So, I don't even think that it would be a blip on Tiff's radar if they were actually able to pull it off.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure, because we do know, I mean, we get the moment where Tiff literally asks Kenzie, like, unless you all vote me out tonight, and Kenzie gets to honestly say, no, we're not going to do that. It's a good idea, but we're not doing that right now or whatever. And that moment definitely goes a lot differently if Kenzie is secretly about to vote for her, and maybe she's a fantastic actress, maybe she's not, but we would have found out in that moment.
And I don't think that Kenzie can pull off that line of you're guaranteed final 6 now.
Yeah.
If she knows somewhere that like that blind side is coming.
Yeah. And so, they pitch Liz, and what we see is a tepid response, and of course they play it up to go into tribal council with us, the viewer, left in the air of will she, won't she? And of course she does by the end, and they vote out Tiff. They blindside Tiff. They finally read. They've been slow playing the way they read the votes for. I don't know. I'll only say the entire modern era because my knowledge doesn't go back further than that so well. But this is the first time I remember in forever that in a vote that ends up being 5-3, that it doesn't go Q, Tiff, Q, Tiff, Q, Tiff, Tiff, Tiff. Instead is Q, Tiff, Q, Q. And it's like, they've just been sitting, lulling us to sleep for 6 seasons of, that the first time we don't alternate, it's the rest of the votes are that person, which was great. And I was tricked by it. I was like, damn it, she didn't do it. I did say that out loud. The only thing I will say is because Liz is so smart, this all goes perfectly and is amazing. And I did see, as always, the hindsight of the fans. We can always come up with like, well, here's how this could have been the most masterful move in the history of the game. And the one idea I did see that I actually really liked, and I do not fault Liz for not coming up with, but was Liz could have went to Tiff. It would have been hard to do without anyone seeing, but like before tribal and be like, hey, here's the deal. There's enough people that are going to vote you out. You're going to just don't say anything, go along with it, play your idol, and me and you are voting for Q, and we're gonna, you're gonna lose your idol. That's too bad, but me and you are gonna be the only ones that or get him out while all the others just continue to waste their time or whatever.
Yeah.
And that would have been cute. Like Liz's ultimate, the most satisfactory thing ever could be like, I not only did get to vote the asshole out, but I like get to claim this new huge move and all the moves before that he is overshadowed and all of that. That could have been amazing, but this is still plenty good for her. I think it puts obviously Maria square one, target on her back, but I think it does validate Liz too in like now all those other moves are going to be kind of accounted for, and she is going to be looked at with Maria as the one that did this with Maria essentially, and is going to put her on the map where she's wanted to be, and maybe where it's been very helpful that she has not been as much as she deserved to be up until this point, because it's always nice to wait for that, some delayed respect given for all of the moves or whatnot. But was there anything about Tribal other than obviously the result that really stood out to you? I thought they were all pretty stonewalled. I didn't think there was anything that was like screamed obvious, like, Tiff, what are you doing? How are you not seeing this question that Jeff's asking or this response of anyone? They did a good job, pretty buttoned up, and it's the second person in a row that goes home with an idol in their pocket, which makes
all three. Jem, Hunter, and Tiff have all gone out with the idols in their pockets.
Yeah, idol and advantage haters out there just having the best season ever of just like, there hasn't been that many and none of them have gotten used.
Yeah. The only one that got used was Maria's extra vote, because Tevin went out with his extra vote in his pocket too.
Yeah, and I don't think Maria's extra vote, I forget when she used it, but it didn't really matter. Did it matter? Was it the deciding?
It wasn't the deciding, but she used, it was the thing that, like, as fans were like, this is why she's a great player. Not only did she use it, but she used different handwriting on both of the votes.
Yeah, that was really
and one of the things actually on Fire, because Jay asked D whether you start to recognize handwriting, and D said one of the most, like, eventually you do get to spot it, because if you see the same handwriting from your tribe and then you see the same handwriting from Emerge, but she said one of the things that is the smartest way to do it is to differentiate your handwriting every time that you vote, so that nobody can get a clear read on the way that you write, which is smart. But I mean, the only thing that I could really think of is the fact that, like, blindsiding Tiff was Kenzie's move, but now Kenzie gets no claim of it because of how surprised she was at Tribal and the fact that she wasn't included in it. But not only that, convincing Liz to not vote Q is almost an even bigger move. Like, even something as simple as that is now a way that Maria is able to build her resume out. And I think that really, like, she's pretty much unstoppable at this point if she gets to the end of being the winner, because we already know that she can explain her game really well, and she's played a really solid game. The only thing that I noticed from Tribal that I was like, I don't know, like, I knew it had to be editing, because when Jeff asks if anybody wants to play their idol, everybody looks at Tiff scratching her head and looks at the ground. So, like, doesn't look a lot like how it appeared was that she never looked to just kind of see, do I need to play this, or is this a straight vote? She didn't seem to make eye contact with any of the other people, because she was on the end as well.
So that definitely is editing. Like, them looking at her could have easily been pulled from, like, her talking earlier too, or something. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, but it is pretty shocking that all three idols go home in pockets, and Tiff goes home and joins the jury, and we are now down to 7, and we will continue that Maria dominance talk when we get to the power rankings, but first let's hand out some awards. First up, as always, quote of the week. What the heck, you hoe bags is obviously up there, but it probably can't win just because we had it in the trailer, so we've sat with it for a full week, but True. It deserves to get mentioned, of course. Liz's entire monologue yelling at Q is definitely a nominee. I don't have it all written down, but it's amazing. You blew up my game, etc., etc. All of it is obviously wonderful. And Q saying, if I step out, I go home, I'm not dropping that bucket. was really great and confidence, but he did drop the bucket.
He did.
And the one I would give it to, I didn't write down the whole thing. Maybe you did, but Maria, after Kenzie tells her, no, I'm not into the Tiff vote, Maria has a confessional where she has an analogy of running the red light, that I thought was really brilliant and great. And I only managed to write down run the red light and then best quote. So I don't remember what it all was, but it was really good.
I also wrote a variation of that. So I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't have the specific quote. For me, at the end of Liz's like huge blow up was back to your regularly scheduled program, because it is 100% something that I say in my life when a conversation goes completely off the tracks and you need to kind of rail it back. Ben's confessional, like Ben has this way of speaking, like the cadence is just amazing for quote of the week. And when he's explaining the whole situation with Liz, and then he ends it with, and on top of that, the bourbon burger is her go-to menu item. As if like that is the how could you possibly have not picked Liz? That is her go-to item, sir. And just the phrasing and just the emotion behind it. Of course, the fact that it was just Liz groaning and that everybody's just like, oh, okay, whatever. When he asks Jeff for for a song title, and then he follows it up with a song title, and then in the background you get a guitar riff. I thought that was great. And then the very final one was Maria, when Jeff was like, Maria's struggling a little bit, and then Maria's like, not struggling, and he goes, Maria's readjusting.
I loved that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was good and very smart of her. And that fit the bill, unlike Hunter's antics of like, that wasn't, it's a little cocky, but it's not gonna ruffle any feathers or anything. Everyone actually like applauded it. Yeah, I'll give it the back to your regularly scheduled program will be the winner to really just give it to everything Liz said throughout the episode, but in her rant. But we'll just pinpoint the end of the rant as the representative there. And I don't think we really have to talk about favorite moment. Obviously, the moment of the episode is Liz losing her shit, and how amazing that was. Was there anything we didn't discuss before that you want to just give a shout out as a nominee?
More so just the realization after Tiff went out, that every idol has gone out of the game unplayed. And Kenzie's reaction, like her entire reaction to the votes, like the Tiff votes being read. I think Jessica Lewis was the one who posted the 4 photos of the Tiff vote out from Kenzie's perspective. And amazing.
Yeah. Kenzie was not, she was watching her own game very much fall through the cracks with each passing Tiff vote, even though those votes weren't actually for her. The only one, I kind of referenced it before, but Venus and Ben manifesting Q dropping from the sidelines and Venus like doing the little kind of voodoo doll-esque sort of things. That was all great, but obviously the moment of the episode is Liz. And best gameplay of the episode is slam dunk obvious winner too. I mean, it could be Liz and Maria, but really just Maria, the entire way she went about, we're still going to do this move, and now the person who brought it up to begin with is out of it, but that doesn't mean we have to be out of it. And just every facet of building up, I'm the one that's going to get Q to be the vote for me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to manage the sanctuary with Tiff and Kenzie, even though it's the person I want to blindside and the person who said she won't blindside them anymore. Get through that unscathed, build 5 votes without anyone noticing and the whole thing. And so I think it's got to be Maria with a shout out to, Liz, you can't win all 5 awards this week, or all 4 good awards this week. So while your vote was the right vote in the end and you were the deciding vote, the best gameplay's got to go to Maria, right?
True. I will also add to that, nothing to take away from it because everything you said is exactly correct. The other thing that I will add is if Maria makes this move and blindsides Tiff, it's a really good move. If Kenzie makes this move and blindsides Tiff, it is a great move because she's been able to pull that off. So, in addition to Maria being able to get it all done, she takes away a huge piece of Kenzie's potential resume by not letting her be the one who is able to blindside Tiff.
Yeah, if Kenzie believes that taking out your number one is a required thing for a
Yeah.
winner, no one else even has the ability to do that anymore except for Maria or Charlie.
Yep.
No one else could sit at the end and have that. So maybe they're the only ones that could get Kenzie's vote in the end, potentially, if that is a real requirement for her. Worst
Possibly.
gameplay of the episode. No one did anything like that. I would be
No.
like, well, that was a horrific idea. So I think by default, it just has to go to like Tiff. You went home with an idol in your pocket, and so like
Yeah.
that's not great. You only would have been saving it for one chance to play it next week. So by default, that no one did anything egregious or that bad, I think I just got to give it to Tiff just because.
I'll give it to Tiff, but I'll give it to her for a different reason. She's lactose intolerant. She drank that milkshake. I'm lactose intolerant. I would never do that. Like, I don't care. I don't understand how people who are lactose intolerant would then choose to inflict that upon themselves, let alone on an island after you've just ate a lot of really good food, to then be like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this very quickly, one way or the other. I'm going to drink this milkshake. Nope. No, sir.
Yeah,
Worst
that
move.
reminds me. I know it's a little disgusting, so sorry in advance for what I'm about to say. But every time they get to have the like big feast of not just food, but like they get to eat as much as they can possibly stomach. I'm
Yeah.
just fascinated to know what the bathroom situation is 24 like in the next 24
Oh, I know.
hours because they haven't
Yeah.
pooped the whole time because they have nothing to poop.
Yeah.
And now they have everything to poop, and especially if you're going, I'm lactose intolerant, but F it, that's a good looking milkshake. I'm just really want to know
No.
what that was like. um Episode MVP, obviously Liz. Sorry,
Yes.
Maria. It is Liz. It is always going to be Liz, and no one else is even allowed to be nominated. It is Liz. Concur?
Yes. I concur.
Okay. Wonderful. So Liz gets 3 of the 4 positive awards. Well done, Liz. And now let's see where that puts her in our power rankings and close it out with those and some predictions and listener questions. So before we do our power rankings and predictions, do we have a listener question
We
potentially,
do.
right? Did we already
From
cover it,
Brittany.
or is it something worth still discussing?
It is something worth still discussing, and it actually relates to power ranking and like final tribal stuff. So this one's from Brittany, and it's if Q manages to win when he needs to and somehow makes final 3,
Yes, he can win.
is surviving being the meat shield and essentially on the line regularly enough, oppressive enough to win.
Yeah, I flipped 180 degrees from last week. I think Q can absolutely win. I mean he can't because I don't know that he's gonna make the proper argument at the
Right.
final 3. But if he could like have a substitute, like if he got to bring in a lawyer, like one of the 17 lawyers that was on last season or something, one of them, maybe Katura could pop in and help him out. I think he actually could, not versus Maria or Charlie, but I think there's a world where like Maria and Charlie get taken out, and suddenly it's like it's Q and Venus and Kenzie, and it's like, well, Kenzie, like everyone likes you and stuff, but like you never turned into the threat we all thought you were, and like your one move you backed out on, and someone else did, and like I technically Q has voted other than last week's random like I don't know who to vote for, so here's a Ben vote. Like he could have voted for everyone, he could win a couple of challenges, he could be like, it was actually masterful when I tried to quit that one time and piss you all off or whatever. I don't know, there's a way, but I don't think he could do the argument when he got to the end with the evidence to actually randomly have a good case.
I think that he might be able to do the argument. He's actually like an incredibly successful realtor in real life.
I know, but I
And
don't
like,
know.
I don't know. I don't know if he has it in him to do to sway those people, that specific jury. But I think that there is a world where we could like where Q could pull off a win, and it is probably with a Venus and Kenzie final 3. But I don't. Kenzie has to have a really poor showing because I think otherwise she might be able to spin it, because she didn't vote for Tiff. So Tiff is still kind of in her corner. And I can see some of the other people potentially being in her corner as well, depending on who ends up jury versus who ends up final tribal. But yeah, I think that being the target for so long and then in game thinking that you can just take him because he's going to get no votes is all the ammunition that he needs to build a decent case as to why and how he positioned himself for people to mistakenly take him to the end. Um, I would be fairly shocked if he wins, but I would not flip the table over and not watch Survivor ever again if he wins. He wouldn't be the worst person to have ever won the game.
Yeah. No, nowhere near.
No.
I I think the number one thing he would need to pull off is he is responsible for voting
Yeah.
Maria
Hmm.
out without Charlie being a part of it somehow.
Yeah.
Like that would vault him right to the top.
Or
Like
if he can take
immediately
them
if
both
that
out.
that specific move, if he
Yeah.
even if he then did or didn't take out Charlie, if somehow next week or the week after he used the like Maria thinks I'm just her number or whatever against her and told everyone, you all want to get her out. I'm the one that actually kind of knows her game as much as anyone because I'm the like lackey that she thinks she has here. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, whether he can pull that off and anyone else is, I think every passing day, people are more willing to work with him again, especially
Hmm.
after now having like, well, shit, Maria went and got Q to work and like it was fine and it worked and he wasn't chaotic and he just like did what he said and like said what he needed to say at tribal to like get the blind side through. So
Yeah.
uh yeah, it's a very long way of saying yes, I actually do think Q can win. And if we're only going to do top 3 power rankings here in a second, but if we did all 7, he would firmly be in the middle. He would be 4th on my list. I think he has the 4th best odds of winning actually right now. And sorry, your guy Ben is not above. I have him above Ben even.
I have
Oh,
Ben above him, but I have Q in fifth and Ben in fourth.
okay. Well, before revealing our top 3, then who goes home next?
I wouldn't be surprised if Kenzie does, because her and Tiff were involved in a lot of votes together, and I don't know how she necessarily navigates without Tiff because we've never seen it. We've never seen her have to.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, Maria is going to be the obvious new target, number one
yep.
target on the beach for sure. To everyone outside of Charlie and Ben, who are both still probably going to be like, well, yeah, she is. Whether they're
Charlie
like, we
should
need
be.
to do it next. And Charlie should be right there with her, I would
Yep.
assume. And Liz will now probably also be maybe up there. So I feel like they're going to go into next week. Venus, Q, Kenzie, and Ben are going to be kind of viewed in one group.
Yep.
And whether that means they end up banding together and working together, and Charlie, Maria, and who am I leaving out? And Liz, yeah, are viewed as like those 3 are kind of have done some stuff, and we haven't really done stuff, and there's kind of like that divide, and it's pretty open and obvious. We'll see if that takes place. I think that either Maria, Charlie, or Q goes home because I think Maria and Charlie are going to be the targets, and that Q is going to be the like kind of backup, smokescreen / also actual backup. The other question I have for you is: there going to be any advantage or idol introduced
Idol.
between now and the end?
I think the idols. I think at least one idol will go back into play, or it's that challenge where everybody's on the beach and there's an advantage to the next challenge. I could see that happening, and I think that that's the smokescreen. Is I think that everybody's anticipating that the idols that just went out of the game are back in, but I think that it's actually one of those. Here's a clue. Figure it out for an advantage in the next challenge.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I would be interested in a 3-person. I was going to say 2-person journey. I'm interested in a journey, honestly. Weirdly,
Yeah,
I don't know. Do they do those once they're at the merge? Or are those
I
all a
don't know.
pre-merge thing only?
I think it was a pre-merge thing, but I would be fine with it if they had like
Some
I
small
don't.
contest to like get to go, because obviously I bet
Yeah,
everyone it would be hard to come to an agreement on who gets to go.
yeah,
Maybe it's not. Maybe a lot of people would be like, I don't think I want to go.
yeah,
But yeah, if it was some small like stand in the circle, whether it be just straight up draw rocks or you guys all play a rock paper scissors tournament or something,
yeah,
and 3 of you get to go and one of you gets to get an idol, like there's a real reward available here or something to yeah, I guess it's just this season that there's been so few, and then that none of them got used. I'm actually weirdly like, I could use some idol advantage being in the mix here again. I'm not tired of them because we haven't, they've not been used thus far.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I was gonna say, what if somebody from Sega actually still has it? Like, but Gem went out with everyone thinking that Tim had it, so they never actually looked for it after Gem went out because they all just assumed that Tim had it.
That would be pretty wild if production and editing had not showed us that. I mean, although the last Gem Sega one was shown to us as a 4 days ago flashback. So maybe this could be a 9 days ago flashback. Do you remember Gem? She got voted out way back when, and there was an idol, and Ben found it. And we haven't told you. He hasn't told you. No one's told you anything about it ever. Here's confessionals from every day the last 9 days of Ben talking about his idol. Here we go.
That would be. I would love that just because it's Ben. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like there's, because of how everything got played, Hunter only said that he had an idol right before he went out. So whether they believed that he had an idol and that it actually mattered or not, I don't know. But everybody did know that Tiff had an idol. So that would be a scramble versus people being unsure if Hunter just said he had an idol. I'm fine with, I also hate saying this. There needs to be one more advantage-y thing.
Yeah, although it looks like there's something crazy again goes down next episode, so we shall see. I now have trust in the trailers for next week because they're 3 for 3 now the last 3 weeks, and no, we're not trying to trick you into watching. There is some crazy shit is going to happen, so I believe them. Who is your top 3 then in the power rankings? I'm gonna guess that we have the same.
So mine are Maria, Charlie, and Liz.
Yeah, I think there's a huge divide between those 3 have done stuff and the other 4 have kind of not done, have been, tertiary parts, have been voting members of stuff, but not done stuff.
Yeah, I think Ben's our swing vote next week, though. I think that Kenzie, Q, and Venus end up being cobbled together, and then Charlie and Maria, although Liz could actually be the swing vote, because Charlie, Maria, and Ben are sort of tighter than Liz, Charlie.
Yeah, I think Charlie and Maria are the only 2 that we can be until they decide if they have the same thought that Kenzie and others there do of we can't go to the end together. But I think even with them not having the evidence of the season prior to them, I think they seem like they might be the ones that are we're okay with this, or maybe we're okay they were Denise and 5 or 4. Yeah. And so I think they're the only ones that we can kind of assume are moving together, voting together still. And no one else I really even feel sure Ben has voted with them each time, but he hasn't necessarily. It's because it's still been the smartest thing to do at each turn, not because he's in lockstep with them. Q can do Q things at any point. Venus can, it could be a vote, or for the same reason they didn't go to her this week, could be just we think you're going to want to try to find a way to use it to your credit versus just being a part of something. I don't know. So yeah, those 3 are my top 3, and it's a big divide after them.
This season's weird, man. If you look at it from the outset, who would have anticipated that even if you go from the merge, Nami came in with only a medical evac, taking down their numbers. Now Liz and Venus are the only 2 remaining of Nami. Sega is actually the majority right now with 3. And then Q and Kenzie are actually the 2 from Yanu rather than Tiff and Q.
Yeah. It's been quite unpredictable, but who did predict one thing right? I've waited this long to say it. Someone's winner's pick took someone else's winner's pick out this week.
It's true.
So I am sorry. You made it quite far. It's still an impressive showing.
It's true.
Tiff is gone, and my girl is riding high, sitting on top, looking dominant, and I'm feeling like I'm going to get a winner pick correct, which will be, I've done it once in 8 seasons of the challenge, and it felt amazing, and it'll feel even better on Survivor because it's obviously way harder to pick on Survivor. It's not that hard to have an educated guess at the small crop of people that could win a given challenge season. So I'm looking forward to hopefully Maria pulling it off. Any final closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I mean my final I have three people left in our Survivor draft that I'm doing with a couple friends, and it was one of those things where I was very conflicted because in order for my draft to win, my winner pick had to lose from here because somebody else had Tiff. So my three that are remaining are um, Charlie, Kenzie, and Venus.
Mm.
So I'm not in a terrible position,
That
but
could be a final three. You could get all
yeah,
three in the final. I
yeah,
could see that trio.
I would be very interested to see a Kenzie, Charlie, Maria, or or our top three of a Liz, Charlie, Maria final three. Very interesting. As much as it would be interesting to see the chaotic trio of Liz, Venus, and Q.
Yeah, I'm definitely at this point rooting for Maria in my winner pick to be right, but
Yeah,
I either want Charlie and Maria to be there together or neither of them to make it
yeah,
because, and obviously, whatever way we got there could change this, but I feel like if one of those two is there, the final tribal, there's a chance final tribal could not be interesting.
right.
Like if one of them was there and Liz wasn't, then it's like I don't know that I could see it. I could see an obvious path to like kind of a boring end final tribal to this amazing season that we've now had. And so I'd
I
rather
mean,
them be there together to make it really interesting, or at least Liz there as the counterweight and like valid. You could go either
yeah.
way, or for one of the other four to step up and do some stuff in the next couple episodes to get themselves in
It
that same
it
same
could be a
ranking.
true it could be a true Malcolm and Denise though, where
Who
Denise
won
makes
on
final
that
three.
again?
Denise.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Maria is the Denise in this
Maria
scenario.
is the Denise in this scenario, and
Okay.
Malcolm went out fourth.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we seen any of them do fire except for Liz trying to do fire through her tears this week? Which does not
Um,
count as a not able to do fire.
I don't think so. Because I mean, Yanu never had fire,
And
so
they like didn't even try.
no,
Uh,
they're just like
so we
whatever.
know I think that
Um,
means Kenzie and Q are not very good at it
yeah,
because they
because
didn't.
they
It's
would
not
have.
that they couldn't do it; it's that they
Um,
didn't even try.
yeah, yeah.
um,
I wouldn't be surprised if like Charlie had, if he practices grip strength for 2 years, he probably knows how to make fire.
Charlie can make. Yeah, Charlie's gonna whoop someone's ass in fire making if
Yeah,
he is allowed the opportunity or gets there. He's definitely gonna be like, I'm doing that, and
I
I'm
don't
really
know.
good at it under the
Yeah, don't
radar.
know if Venus does. I don't really. Yeah, I mean, Charlie and Maria are probably the only two that I think can make fire, like just based on who's probably made
Who
fire.
seems good at the survivor part of Survivor
Yeah.
of the
Although
game? Yeah.
when when Ben had his panic attack and it was just him and Kenzie up at like 3 a.m. or whatever, they made they rebuilt the fire together.
Yeah, but it was. I think
But
there
was
was
it
still
still like
something left. There was
yeah,
something left. There were some embers and stuff. I think they just slowly put things on top of it, but they didn't have to do the flame part.
now
Oh well.
going deep into Survivor lore because somebody on Facebook mentioned it, and then I had just kept reading the comments and it actually ended up being very sort of prophetic. The people who win this immunity challenge, in at least three other cases, have gone on to win that season. So Gabler, Mike Holloway, and Denise.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I don't know. I think Charlie would be an incredible winner.
Yeah,
So I'd be down for that. Pretty much everyone left. I would be
that's the thing, man.
pretty
Like
entertained by.
anybody who's left is a very valid and deserving winner. Because even if Venus wins, for example, and a lot of people are counting her out as like a zero vote finalist, either from social media presence or whatever. For me, it's social media presence, and her going to one event when the entire rest of the cast went to a different event. Um, but she would also be like somebody who was completely counted out by everybody else and was able to navigate her way to the end. So like everybody that's left this 7 is totally valid, even like 8 with Tiff still in it. Totally valid for winning and a totally valid winner.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a great final couple of episodes that we got left. We will be back to cover it all. Of course, follow, subscribe wherever you are listening. Use the links if you want to chat with us on Instagram about Survivor, the challenge, anything else.
Yes.
And we will be back sometime next weekend to discuss episode 11, which won't be the penultimate episode. We've got 3 left. So the
Yes.
third to last. Talk to you then.
The pentapulate.
Yeah, something like that.